So we'll have a few questions, and then we'll make sure, I'm hoping that everybody's got questions from the floor as well. But Damon, we'll start with you, not least because you've had the longest rest. There are many fuel-saving technologies that have become commonplace in shipping. I'm thinking of bulbous bows, propeller optimization, advanced coatings. Can wind follow suit?
Right. Okay, good question. For sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think shipping is one of the oldest engineering achievements of men, I would think, and it's continuously been upgrading over the hundreds, thousands of years, effectively. So we've seen a whole progress all through that time. And we've had some interesting discussions about how coal overcomes sailing and how there were hybrid events and machines around. And it's one of continuous improvement. And today what we see will be different tomorrow. So it is going to be an ongoing continuous improvement. And there are a whole lot of solutions to improve it. I mean, we've touched on quite a few here today, and each solution probably is good for certain area, certain activity, certain type of thing, and most of the solutions will work better in conjunction with other solutions, and it's certainly not going to be one solution for everything. I mean, it's a huge variety. Again, all shipping is very different. I mean, we heard there are 70,000 ships, and there are 17,000 very large ships. Most ships are 300 tons or to 1,000 tons in size. You know, so they have a very different requirement, as Frank just said then. So there's going to be a lot of solutions out there, and I think we live in exciting times, and we're going to see those come out. 100% sure.
Horses for courses. Stephanie, I mean, if you agree with the premise that wind can become commonplace, how do we get to that point? What are the barriers that we need to overcome to get there? Some of which your organisation will have, some of those hoops you will have already jumped through, and perhaps you can help share those, because as you say, there are lots of different wind propulsion solutions. I know I've spoken to a few people today that are perhaps at a more embryonic stage than each of your solutions, but maybe some advice for them in terms of how they can progress and you know, get their solution more readily to market.
Well, the route is long, huh? Even for Airseas still. I mean, definitely there are a lot of innovative and fully commercially available clean technologies and wind propulsion suppliers. But definitely, what is key is I would say is the support from public authority and regulatories, as we mentioned this morning. Why? Because they have a key role to play to set up the relevant tools, you know, to include in the business plan carbon price and life cycle emission price as well. So once we will have said that, I mean, it will be easier to fund and to get funding from private investors. So that's really a key message that we want to convey today, because definitely we are still in fundraising, and I'm sure that other wind propulsion supplier need, you know, to raise money. And we have received so far public funding, but we need also funding from private investors. So that's key. After, for actors such as Airseas, we need to collaborate and to work also with a key stakeholder, major stakeholder of the maritime sector, namely class society, and that's what we're doing, you know, to prove that the solution is safe and delivers the performance announced. So that's key. And after work also with, you know, financing guys, because I'm sure we will have to innovate also in terms of financing scheme. We need also probably to innovate in terms of insurance. And so we have, you know, to innovate and I would say, yeah, to make such innovation in all these aspects. So I think it's if we want to decarbonize this sector, I think we need to innovate and in many aspects. That's my message.
Pin earlier was talking about the gap between feasibility and scale, and how funding is what's holding us back. How do you see that we can change that? What's required?
So who is that question?
To you, yes. Sorry, I've got heaters going off. I've got helicopters spinning around. It's very difficult.
No, but I think it's a little bit rephrasing of the question, and I think I fully agree with what Stéphanie said. But basically, to make it a little simpler, if you look at the people that actually did the WASP project now, it was two somewhat bigger companies, but the three others were just family-owned business, where the captain is making his own decision, and he can decide to put that investment. And what you see also at the same time is that slowly the bigger companies are doing their studies, and that takes a while, and they wait for the data to come. But I'm quite convinced that in the end, those will decide. The same what Stéphanie was saying, that they have this order for 2 and an option for many. And of course, that is after they have studied it. And that is typical for the bigger companies, that they study things thoroughly. So the message to others is to just keep going. The market will come. And to all the ship owners, the savings will come if you do it. It's just, it is too strange to be true that we have this CO2 crisis, and it's easy to do, and the wind is out there, so it's crazy not to do it. But on the other hand, the industry has to grow. We can't do 70,000 ships over a very short period of time, so I think this will go hand in hand, and it's just a matter of time. But the pressure from what is being felt is very important, because otherwise everybody is going to lay back and do nothing.
I mean, the proof, presumably in terms of convincing people, ship owners especially, but other collaborators, that wind is the way to go and it's worth investing in, that the return on investment is there. Is it difficult to accurately measure these solutions? Is it difficult to quantify them? How achievable is that?
Well, I think it's relatively easy to quantify it, and we've heard today from some CFD guys, and there are some great new analysis tools out there, and every year they're getting faster and faster, and capable of delivering more and more that can actually be used very successfully to quantify what the gains are. I mean, clearly there's engineering development that's got to go into some of the areas, some more so than others, some already there, and some need quite a lot of development. But I think the biggest problem is actually conservatism amongst owners and things. Why take the risk? Why be number one? We've had that before. So I think that's the biggest single issue, and they need encouragement to move down that way. For sure, as Frank said, there are some individual owners out there who are conscious of this and will take that step, and hopefully they will start pushing that forward. But to the bigger owners, maybe some will do it, but maybe they need a nudge or two, and that's where government intervention and popular opinion, again, we live in a social media world now. Can popular opinion start to drive these things forward a bit more? So, but then it's the owners that are making the decisions, so those are the guys that need nudging.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of collaboration, Stéphanie, I'd love you to talk a little bit about the announcement that Airseas has made today in collaboration with others. Collaboration seems to be the buzzword of today in many ways, but Holder, iTech, Norse Power, others I will get told off for not mentioning, I'm sure, but can you tell us a little bit about that in terms of your call for the industry and indeed the IMO, International Maritime Organization, I'll get told of using acronyms, and the EU. What's the message that you've put out today, and why do you believe it's so important?
Yeah, so the call we initiate and with Holder is is the demonstration that we collaborate, and it was mentioned this morning that there is a need of collaboration, of cooperation. We collaborate with others, with innovative, available clean tech manufacturers, including, competitors, because we are convinced that there is place for everybody, especially for wind propulsion suppliers. And for other clean technologies, we need innovation from many stakeholders. So this call is really, for the attention of regulators and civil society and major stakeholder of the maritime sector, and to convey the message that we have abundant, innovative, and fully commercially available clean technology. And with them, we can significantly reduce fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emission. And it's time to use them right now. And the maritime sector cannot miss such opportunity to save time and money by investing and applying energy efficiency and renewable propulsion technologies. So that's really the message we want to deliver, because there is a clear momentum. The EU is currently setting up new regulation. IMO through MEPC do the same. And so we need to clearly convey message. And this clean technology, as I mentioned, can be combined, with alternative fuel, because we all know that the zero emission vessel will be a combination of different clean technologies, including alternative fuel for sure, but will include different clean technologies. So we need hybridization, and that's the message we want to convey. And so it's a clear message addressing to the international shipping.
Thank you. Frank, rather than asking you to comment on that, and just to keep things exciting and to make sure everybody's awake and fighting fit, ready to go, despite the lateness of the day, who has a question that we can put to Frank? I believe there's somebody very kindly wandering around with a microphone. So, gentleman at the back.
In terms of the, the sky sails, the Airseas or different, the technologies, wind technologies, we are talking about the potential, but when you install, what type of risks we have in terms of maintenance, wear and tear, in case of kites, is there a risk of losing it? These are important operational costs that may add on, that without those type of information, that you may not be able to convince the ship owners.
Yeah, Frank, can you speak to that in terms of operations?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I have a very funny thing. This was actually on the Anki. Yesterday we had a big gala with all kinds of ship owners, and one of the people at our table was the owner of the Anki. And in the contract we made with him, we said there will be problems in the beginning. It's in the contract. In the contract we said there will be problems, because it's the first time you put something like this out on the sea, and things that don't break down when it's in your back garden, you put it on the sea, it will break down. So this was very, very cool. He knew that was going to happen. So he emphasized a lot on the way that we organized the service. And then from these things, you go to the second one. But this is the same when we made the step into the current diesel engines. They broke down in the beginning, and we are just at the beginning. So any person that says we don't have any problems in the beginning, when you just made a few systems, it's just impossible. I was really impressed on the statistics of the super yachts, but then you think, indeed, it's a super yacht, and when we would increase our price tenfold, I think we could use the same kind of proven technologies also for that part. But in the beginning, it is definitely a factor to take into consideration. So, but then I have the statistics again on improvement. Cost go down with every doubling of your production, and quality goes up with every doubling. So it's good that in the beginning there is a little subsidy and a little support, and then prices will go down, and as I said, savings will go up. And I think we are at that point where the suppliers that have been out there for 5 to 10 years, they have gotten mature, and they know what will break down and make a service package for that, etc. So it's part of the OPEX.
Yeah, yeah, no, please do, because I get that it was a very good question. It is a very key point, because whilst I understand from your perspective that you're sort of, come on, ship owners, there's some obvious savings here to be made, but actually they need reassurance that this is relatively new technology, and they need reassurance that it's going to work, and that if something goes wrong, you will sort it out, and it's not going to impact the operations.
Yeah, but in the end, they must realize that the ship owners do have their own problem. I mean, they must go down in fuel consumption. It's just obligatory. So people have to start doing this. And then in the beginning, it is true. I mean, I think all of us suppliers will know that in the beginning we try our utmost, but we will find things that will break down, and then it's a matter of arranging it and do a good service. And this is what we had in the contract as well, that we would make sure the systems keep up running for the period of this trials in the WASP.
Yeah, Damon.
Yeah, if I may,
Stephanie, can I? Apologies, it's a bit tricky just because you're not through. But if Damon may go first, and then we will certainly come on to you afterwards.
Well, it's an excellent question, and I think it's also really important to see that a lot of sailing and wind-assisted technology is pretty mature. It's been driven pretty hard and tested in a lot of wild conditions, you know. So for sure, it's easy to sit around the table and imagine it, but our DynaRig's been out in 60 knots, plus I can show you plenty of sea conditions where the boat's completely out of the water with waves coming across them, and the boat's heeled at 30 degrees plus. But a nice, interesting little fact to bear in mind is that today we have lone sailors racing yachts around the world at an average of 18 to 20 knots and achieving circumnavigation single-handed in 50 days. Yeah? This is a speed much higher, as I believe, than any powered vessel can go around the world. Yes, these are perhaps out-and-out racing boats, but they are racing through some of the toughest areas on the planet with one guy on them. And we saw a picture of, I think it was Banque Populaire. You know, I was fortunate enough to sail on that boat recently, 46 knots on a 110-foot boat in the open sea conditions, you know. The technology is moving ahead. And so there is a learning from all of this about reliability and those aspects. So I think it's a really key question to ask, and you should ask that to all the areas, because it's actually essential.
Prize
aspect.
for the best question of the day, certainly. Stephanie, I know you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, I wanted to complement what Frank mentioned and what Damien. Definitely, I fully share their point of view. And what I can add is, is that for us, we have K-Line, one of the top 5 biggest ship owners, who has been working with you, working with Airseas now for a couple of months and years now. And has decided to order 2 systems plus 49 options. And we have dedicated team from K-Line working closely with Airseas, and I mean, having monitoring the development of the product and working closely with our teams. And definitely, Frank mentioned that when the prototype will be installed, definitely all will not be, I would say, without any technical issue, but definitely taking into account and considering the performance, duly validated by K-Line's team and experts, and the environmental challenges. Definitely, K-Line has decided to opt for wind propulsion equipment, because now there's not so many available solutions to face these environmental challenges, and wind propulsion equipment constitutes some really safe tools.
Have any more questions, gentlemen
And maybe one more, because we have always this kind of question about the kite, etc. So we have integrated the aeronautical expertise, and we never raised the question for any aircraft. We have integrated the flight control laws, and so the system in the aeronautical sector, safety requirements are really high, and so we have transposed and transferred these safety requirements. So it's our corporate policy, and it belongs to also our manufacturing policy to integrate the highest level of safety.
Thank you. What's your question, please?
Sure. Andrew Manson from Technip FMC. Just looking at the three products that have been presented today, they all appear to harness the wind in a different way. So is there a potential for them to complement each other? Could they be combined? For example, the Airseas is operating at a much higher altitude than the DynaRig, has that been looked at, and could they complement each other? That's a question. I like the Airseas concept, and when we did Maltese Falcon 16 years ago, myself and Jerry sat down with the owner, Tom Perkins, and said, we should stick a kite off the front of this. We have a special mast in the front, we can launch it easily, but we couldn't persuade him that thing. But certainly that's something that could complement it. It seems like it's really easy to handle, launch it, and perhaps it could help on some angles. It has the advantage of getting driving force high up, so yeah, I think these technologies can work together.
May I comment on that?
Yeah, please do, Frank.
I think it is technically possible, but it's not sane. There's 50,000 ships out there, and we are talking now about combining two things, so that is technically possible and a good idea. But I'd rather have that one ship takes the one and the other ship take the other. All the ship have to do something. So as long as the producing power and the innovation power of the industry still has to come up, I'd rather have them do 100 ships 10% than 10 ships 100%. But in the end, they must go 100% all of them. So yes, it's a good idea, but then I would rather install them on two ships.
I was quite interested, Frank. I think one of your boats you had was Energy Observer, which you've trialled your rig on.
No. That was an example. That was just.
Oh, that was an example. Okay.
It was an example of how you can start from zero emission totally, but then you know that the size of the ship is limited, and that doesn't work for your 20,000 tons bauxite bulk carrier. So there's two ways to go to zero emission, and I said the one way is to have zero emission ships, which today will be limited in size and in distance, and the other way is to reduce the amount of fuel used on big ships that are actually out there. And then you're obviously talking about retrofits.
Yeah, if I may, Amie, I would like to say one additional word to complement what Frank said, because there is a huge challenge, I think, to decarbonize the maritime sector. I think we really need to be fully aware of that, and that's, the huge challenge is also concerning retrofit, because we all know that the zero emission vessel, shipyard for the time being will not have enough ability to build many new zero emission vessels. So we all know that to decarbonize right away, we need first to retrofit. And so we have a lot to do. And so before combining technologies that could be feasible, definitely, but we need to spread out those technology and right away. So that's the message we really want to convey, and not wait, because as I mentioned, we need to drop down emission right now. Otherwise, many ship owners will not be able to meet the environmental challenges on a long-term basis.
Okay, we've got time for one final question. Oh.
I have to take mine, and you're going to have to take yours. Mine will be really quick. And I just want to make this statement as a sailor. just, you know, putting a kite, it's just, to me, it looks like the commercial version of a spinnaker. So, but that's a statement, it's not a question. And there's a lot of question, this is directly to Stephanie, and that is, I get asked a lot when I talk about your technology. People say to me, well, what happens if it goes in the sea? And what they say, we lose this enormous investment if it drops in the sea. I'm sure that you have a solution to that. Could you please explain it to us?
So again, I mentioned what I already say. We never raised the question for an aircraft. And again, we have fully integrated the flight control laws in our pod and controlling automatically the wing. So there is a 10 power minus 7, I would say, risk of any fall of the wing in the sea. So which is really, really low, extremely low. And even if it happens, there is between, I would say, 4% of chance that you will have the wing behind, you know, I don't know how you say in English, but le vent arrière. So I don't know how we can translate vent arrière, but so the wing is really, you know, parallel behind to the ship, so that there is very, very few risk that in case, again, it's highly hypothetical that even the wing fall, then it goes into the I would say hélice propeller, yeah, into the propeller. So again, everything is done not for the wing to fall into the sea. It's not possible, you know. It's based on the aeronautical control laws integrated into the system, and our engineers work on such hypothesis and such a basis. So that's what we tell to ship owners raising this question.
Okay, this really is the last question now.
Does it? Yeah, it worked. Thank you. So my name is Nienke Visser, owner of Inivity, and I just love these kinds of ideas where you actually use, you make use of the wind directly, and that's, for me, that's really emission free, and yeah, I think it's brilliant. My question is basically for all of you. I've once been to the factory of Frank, which was really impressive, and I really enjoyed it. And if I was to be a ship owner and I was to order wind propulsion or the kite, etc., what is the throughput time if I order it today?
Frank, did you hear that? If she's a ship owner,
how many do you want?
What's the throughput time?
Yeah, how many can you actually
today,
deliver?
Right
What is it that you can actually mean for them? For me as a ship owner, in case.
The throughput time is somewhere at this moment still somewhere around 6 months, but as we scale up, we think we can start a new in our current facility. We can start up a new system every week. So then in about 6 months time, potentially you could go after the first one, a week later the second one, and a week later. But
so I could do my entire fleet.
Yeah. So it is. It's still a little balancing act. If we would invest that we have that capacity now, then we don't have the money because we don't have the orders to make every week a system. But in the facility and in the logistics, that is principally possible.
Damon, do you want
and then the next step is of course to go with licensing, to start a second factory, etc. It's just the normal growth. I mean, a truck, every 17 minutes there comes a truck off the factory line, and you can't imagine that, but that is the same logic. And once the orders come, you can increase your thing. But if you order today, we will deliver it to you in 6 months.
Yeah. Right.
So
decisive.
So in
Damon.
our case, I think you've got to remember with any wind-powered sailing system, it actually needs the water underneath it as well. So, so there's a combination of the vessel design and the rig design in most of these systems. Some possibly could be retrofitted, but in order to get optimum performance, those two go together. The boat, as soon as you put a wind force on the boat, it's going to go sideways. Yeah. So a conventional boat needs to have a resistance to that. So in our position, we believe the boat is likely to be a new boat, and we would want to sign the delivery contract at the date of doing the new boat, and we would deliver in accordance when the boat is ready. Yeah, so we wouldn't see any problem in actually doing that. You know, some of the systems may well be retrofittable, but I think to get the best value out of most of the systems, it's better to incorporate it into a new boat. Not all systems. In our case, it definitely is better to incorporate it in a new boat.
Stephanie, final and brief, if you would, word.
In terms of scaling up and ramping, that's your question?
In terms of the order time and deliverability.
Yeah, so if I would order today, how long will it take?
Oh, okay. From 2025, we expect 50 kites per year, but until that time, it will be less. So definitely slots, we have more and more slots booked. So it can be a couple of months and maybe 1 year.
Thank you. We will have to leave it there because I'm so sorry, but
this is our only IMO representative. It's the only IMO representative in the room. So we're going to give him
it's your gig. It's your gig. You can
Thank you. Okay, actually, this is a comment, not a question. The capacity question always comes up when we have new products. Compared to ships, these things are tiny. And there is going to be no problem manufacturing. There is, as you were saying, a transition problem. Maybe the first year or the first 6 months, it will not do. But when we need the production capacity, there will be no problem. Even if for new ships, shipyards can work in 3 shifts if they need to. So there's no capacity problem in doing it. It's only creating the capacity that will take a certain amount of time.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Well,
I have made the dream sometimes that indeed every day a wing comes out of the factory. like airplanes. I mean, airplanes. Look at Boeing. Look at you guys in France. I mean, they kick out an airplane every day. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a matter of just getting in that volume, and there's no principal problem.
Yeah.
I want to thank
Agree.
Amie, do you want to close?
Well, just to say that it's when there's wind, it's free, and it sounds like it can save emissions, it can save fuel, and it can ultimately save costs. So I guess in terms of going back to the future, ships propelled by wind as they used to be makes a lot of sense.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. So on that, I want to thank Amie for moderating this session, and to our speakers. Thank you very much. And now it's death by brainstorm. We have one last brainstorm session today, but the treat is you all get drinks afterwards. So there will be a cocktail reception afterwards and lots of lovely things to eat. I can't hear you, darling.
She's suggesting doing drinks during to enable creativity.
That's actually not a bad idea, but we haven't worked that out with the caterers. So what we'll do, we'll get the brainstorming started, and then I'll see about the drinks. But I'm not getting the drinks out until you've moved into your sessions. So we've got 3 sessions. They're the same bits of paper, so the same sort of things that we're working out on. And the things I've been listening today, where the barriers are, and these are what I really want to talk about. And one of the biggest things we talked about is getting shipyards to start incorporating some of this new technology. So Jochem Brunsma has been kind enough to say that he would lead the session on shipyards and how we can get shipyards to transition and bring these new technologies in. So we'll put him all the way over near the drinks. And the other thing I'd like to discuss is just, I mean, obviously the answer is blowing in the wind. Why is this not happening? Why have we not picked up this technology? So I'm going to put wind all the way over here, if that's okay. And do we have a volunteer that wants to lead the wind brainstorming technology, Damon.
Damon, I'm electing.
Would Damon like to
nominating Damon.
lead that brainstorming session?
Yay!
The crowd wants Damon. Damon, did Damon accept? Damon. And then we have one more, and that is the full system design. I mean, we know we need to change these shapes. So what do we need? What are the factors that we need to be able to just completely change the way we do shapes? Do you know what I mean by that? I think that given Angus's presentation, that should be dead obvious. But is Angus here? Angus, there you are. Would you like to lead that discussion? Would you? And so in the middle table, where Angus is now, that we'll talk about. Well, no, actually, no, not there, because they'll have to. That will here. We don't want to block the caterers from getting the cocktails ready. So if we can have full system design over here and wind or shipyards all the way at that table there. So this one here, yeah. My lovely assistants. So we've got Damon over in this corner. We've got Angus at this table. And we've got Joachim at that corner. Right. And this is gonna be high speed brainstorming, right?